Just like that, we're already 1/4 of the way through the college football season. It's starting to go by quickly, but there have really been some incredible games through the first 3 weeks. Week 3 delivered once again, as there were a number of upsets, close finishes, and games that nobody saw coming. Here are my 10 biggest losers from week 3 of the college football season. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. I'll be posting videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. Before I get to my top 10, drop a comment down below and let me know who you guys think the biggest loser was from this past weekend. With so many games, maybe there's a team I forgot about. I'd love to hear which team disappointed you guys the most. We'll kick off this week with a team that nearly had the worst loss of the entire weekend. Arkansas found themselves trailing Missouri State by 10 points in the 4th quarter. They were 12 minutes away from an awful loss that would have ruined their season. Luckily for the Razorbacks, they pulled it together and outscored Missouri State by 21 points to escape with the victory. Although they won the game, the fact Arkansas nearly lost to Missouri State is not great at all. They allowed nearly 400 yards through the air and couldn't stop the passing attack at all. For the game, the Razorbacks turned it over 3 times. Luckily, a couple of big plays late got them back in the game. Hopefully this was a wake-up call for Arkansas, as they have a chance of making a potential playoff push later this season. After a thrilling win at home last week against Baylor, BYU had no juice this week at Oregon as they fell by 21 points. I thought BYU was going to pull off this upset, but they were just outplayed in every part of the game. Their defense had no answer for Bo Nix, which is certainly a sentence you never want to hear. He led the Ducks down the field numerous times and just couldn't be stopped. At one point, Oregon was on a 28-0 run. Meanwhile, on offense, the Cougars just couldn't get anything going. They had a little stretch at the start of the 4th quarter where they had some momentum, but by that point, it was already too late. The Spartans went into Washington as the number 11 team in the country. Well, they left Washington unranked as they got destroyed by the Huskies. The game was already pretty much out of reach by halftime as they trailed by 3 touchdowns. After averaging 230 yards on the ground through the first 2 games, the Spartans couldn't do anything rushing the ball. As a team, they rushed for only 42 yards on 29 carries, which comes out to 1.4 yards a carry. They were just completely outplayed, and aside from maybe the first few minutes of the game, it just never seemed like they had a chance. The Spartans were on the verge of being the top 10 team in the nation. Now, they're not even ranked at all. Miami didn't even score a touchdown, yet they still had a chance to win on the road at Texas A&M. This would have been a massive win for the Hurricanes program, easily the biggest win in years. Unfortunately, their offense just didn't make the trip to College Station. Tyler Van Dyke had 20 incompletions and averaged only 5 yards per completion. The Hurricanes did have 175 yards on the ground, but it just seemed like they could never get the big run or crucial run when needed. The Miami defense was excellent all night and actually gave the offense a pretty solid chance at winning the game. Sadly, you don't win too many games though when you don't score a single touchdown. I mean, seriously, if Miami just gets 1 touchdown, they likely win this game. This next team actually won their game, but Florida nearly lost an embarrassing one. This honestly might have been worse than the Arkansas game. They barely beat a South Florida team that has won only 4 games over the last 3 seasons. They're one of the worst teams in the entire FBS. They needed a missed field goal attempt as time expired to avoid overtime. Florida was actually trailing with 5 minutes left in the game, but a late touchdown put them ahead. This SEC defense allowed the Bulls to have more first downs, more yards by nearly 100, and nearly 300 total yards on the ground. Ultimately, it was the 3 turnovers that Florida forced that ended up being the difference maker in the game. I didn't have Florida ranked inside my top 25 after this near loss. This is a team that honestly could be 0-3 on the season. They needed an awful decision from Cameron Rising to win in week 1, and a botched field goal from the worst FBS team just to get to 2 wins. Another team that won, who honestly shouldn't have, is UCLA. They needed a game-winning field goal to beat South Alabama at home. They also needed a stupid play call from South Alabama on 4th and 2 on the UCLA 20-yard line to win as well. Instead of kicking a field goal to go up by 5, South Alabama opted to go for it. Well, they turned it over and gave it back to UCLA, who quickly drove down the field to kick the game-winning field goal. UCLA is now 3-0 on the season, but they've had arguably the easiest 3-game start to the season of any Power 5 team. The Jags are a solid team in the Sun Belt, but this game should not have come down to a field goal at the end. Coming into the season, I knew Arizona State would be bad, but I wasn't expecting them to be this bad. They lost to Eastern Michigan by 9 points, and ultimately, it ended up getting Herm Edwards fired. The Sun Devils were a 20-point favorite, and they didn't even lead at any point in this game. This program is a complete dumpster fire right now. Sadly, things are only going to get worse for them. They had some serious momentum a few years ago when they looked like they'd be competing for Pac-12 titles. Now, it's an absolute shit show, and they can't even beat Eastern Michigan. If you thought Scott Frost was the problem, well, you were wrong. Sure, he wasn't a great coach in Nebraska, but my god, is this team horrible. Maybe Scott Frost was the reason they were only losing by 1 score, because with him gone, Nebraska just looks helpless. I said this the other day, but they honestly could have lost by 75 points to Oklahoma. I think the Sooners took their foot off the gas once they got up by 40 points. This Nebraska defense couldn't stop anything, and I'm fairly certain my old high school team could have put some points on them. Meanwhile, outside of their first drive, their offense looked like a bunch of fans they took out of the stands who won an ultimate Nebraska field experience package. Seriously, they couldn't do anything with the ball, and they looked like a bunch of newbies playing football. Nebraska fans, if you're out there watching this video, I send my condolences, because that was awful what I had to witness. Entering the season, I had a lot of hope for this South Carolina team. Now, I didn't think they'd be making a run in the SEC, but I definitely thought they were going to be an 8 or 9 win team. Well, through the first 3 weeks, they're already 1-2, and man, did they get humiliated against Georgia. At home, the Gamecocks nearly lost 48-0. The only reason it wasn't a shutout was because they scored a touchdown in the last minute of the game. Spencer Rattler was awful as he barely threw for 100 yards with 2 interceptions and no touchdown passes. Again, I get it's Georgia, so I wasn't expecting South Carolina to do a whole lot, but I wasn't expecting them to look like an FCS opponent out there. I thought maybe they were going to be able to hang around with the Bulldogs and maybe make it a somewhat decent game entering the fourth quarter, but I was totally proven wrong. This South Carolina team has looked pretty bad through the first 3 weeks of the season, and looking at the remaining schedule, I don't know how many more wins they have ahead of them. We'll wrap up this video with a team who was a 28-point underdog. They ended up losing by 42, and that's Colorado. Now, the loss was expected, but I just don't know what happened with this program. Seriously, I think Colorado might actually be the worst Power 5 team in the entire country. They are really bad. Minnesota did whatever they wanted against them. The defense did nothing to stop the run or pass, and the offense couldn't get past the 50-yard line. Through the first 3 games of the season, Colorado has only scored 3 touchdowns. Yep, just 3 touchdowns in 3 games. They're also allowing 42 points a game as well. I don't know how we got to this point with Colorado, but this program is in a terrible spot. Well, those are my 10 losers from week 3. Which team do you think was the biggest loser from the weekend? Was there a team who really disappointed you that should have been on this list? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'll be posting videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.